I don't think it was a surprise for Iran either. They knew that if they will attack, launch missiles at Israel, then Israelis will, of course, defend themselves, but America will also help Israel in defending itself. President Trump said that in so many words that yes, the Israelis had kept us informed, and there are reports in the U.S. media. ABC News reported that American intelligence agencies provided intelligence support to the Israelis. So, in that sense, the Americans were involved, and Washington never denied doing that. What they are saying is has been misunderstood in Pakistan. What they're saying is that we did not participate in the action, in the Israeli actions. That was an Israeli action. All the planes that participated in those attacks were Israeli attacks. It was planned and executed by the Israelis, but they didn't say that the Israelis did not inform us. They didn't say that the Israelis did not consult America. They must have consulted and they must have informed America long before the attacks happened. I think even other countries around Iran and Israel must have known about it at least a few days before. I think it should not be a surprise for Saudi Arabia. I mean, they must have informed Saudis that the Israeli planes would be flying over their territory. They must have informed Jordan that Israeli planes would be flying over their territory. So it was a very coordinated attack against Israel. It was not just, a knee-jerk reaction against something. Again, that's something that Washington has always said that it would do. There is an agreement between Israel and the United States that requires America to defend Israel whenever it is attacked. So obviously, this is what the Americans were going to do. I mean, the Iranians also knew that. I don't think it was a surprise for Iran either. They knew that if they will attack, launch missiles at Israel, then Israelis will, of course, defend themselves, but America will also help Israel in defending itself. Well, I don't know. Look at this situation in a larger perspective. See, those attacks on the October 7th attacks in Israel almost 2 years ago? It has been almost 2 years, right? Missiles were launched into Israel from Gaza, right? And after that, Israel and the United States seem to have been working on a plan. And the plan is very obvious. There was a time when the United States and Israel, both the United States and Israel, felt that Iran's presence in that area, Iran's presence in Syria, in Lebanon, Israel's relations with Hamas were manageable, that they were in a way also helping Israel by keeping the Arabs on their toes, because Arabs were equally afraid of Iran, if not more than Israel, and therefore it was something that was not necessarily against U.S. interest in that region. And then there was a policy change after those attacks, and I think both Washington and Tel Aviv felt instead of dealing with Arabs indirectly, they can deal with them directly, and they can have a peace plan in which they can persuade Arab states like Saudi Arabia and Jordan and UAE and others to participate. And therefore, then the next phase of the plan was to force Iran to leave that region. So you saw what happened, how they dealt with Hamas. It has been almost it has been decimated, not almost, has been decimated. See how they dealt with Hezbollah. Hezbollah has been forced to retreat. It also forced Iran to leave Syria, orchestrated a change of government in Syria. Therefore, what they're trying to do is to minimize Iran's role in the Middle East. And this is, I think, a part of that greater strategy to create a new situation where I think Saudi Arabia will now have a larger role than it does. It will be helped to emerge as the dominant power in that part of the world after Israel, of course. and that I think that is the strategy they are working on. So it should not be a surprise for anyone. It really depends on the situation, how it unfolds. As you saw, that Iran has retaliated, that it has launched missiles into Israel. It has also hit targets in Tel Aviv. Israeli, of course, brought down most of those projectiles that were sent into Israel. Some did hit the targets, and the Americans supported, or rather, worked with Israel in defending Israel against the Iranian attacks. So, if the situation remains under control, then this war will not escalate. But if America sees at any stage that Israel has been weakened, or Israel is unable to defend itself against Iranian attacks, or if Iran actually shows that it has weapons or it has military strength that Israel cannot deal with. So if they see the situation is getting out of hand, that they see that Iran is actually posing a threat to becoming a threat for Israel, then America will directly get involved, and America will provide military or it already is providing military and financial support to Israel, but it will increase its support and will provide systems to Israel that will help Israel defend itself against Iran. If it has to, it will provide it American, if required, American planes and American warships can participate in operations against Israel, in operations against Iran. So I think this is just the beginning. This is not the end of the war yet. Of course, if Washington sees that Iran has been weakened and that Israel is in a position to defend itself on its own, then of course they will not intervene. But otherwise, America will intervene as much as it has to intervene to defend Israel. Too early to say anything yet, but I think what the Americans are hoping is that this will bring enough pressure on Iran to negotiate a deal that suits both Israel and America. And the Iranians are hoping that they will be able to defend themselves to an extent that it will make America and Israel realize that they cannot force Iran to do anything, and then Americans and Israelis will be forced to give more concessions to Iran. But I think both sides want to end it through talks. Both sides realize that there is no military solution to this. So I think ultimately this nuclear issue will also be resolved through talks. Iranians know that they will not be allowed to make nuclear weapons. And I think sooner or later they will abandon their nuclear program. And they already say that it is not a weapon-oriented program and it is just for producing energy, which of course Americans do not believe, because they say Iran has enough oil to last for 200 years while they're seeking nuclear technology. So that is something that can be discussed, and then they can come to a negotiated settlement for how much enrichment is required for producing energy, and how much of it will Iran will allow to make, and how can Iran actually produce nuclear energy without being a threat for Israel or Saudi Arabia, for example. I think these are the things that can be decided, and I think they will ultimately have to. There has to be a negotiated settlement. There is no other settlement.